Greetings, my name is Rico Dents, and today is 3 of 50 Great Ribbon Rallies. I am traveling across the United States, and today I'm here at West Virginia. And thank you everyone for being here over at the State House. And the goal of the Great Ribbon Rallies is to connect the different cancer agencies, the medical professionals, mental health professionals, and young adult cancer survivors, friends, and family to have a discussion and talk about the needs of young adults, because there's a wide variety of needs of young adults who've been diagnosed with cancer. And I was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia. The day before I was diagnosed, I had vision issues. I just woke up and I couldn't read a book. I couldn't even see a person smile from 4 feet away. And that was difficult because I was trying to start a photography business. So now I'm having to change and think of just the shock of having that happen. I go to the eye doctor. The eye doctor said you might have cancer or you might have high cholesterol, but your eyes are in someone who's like 70 years old. And that was just an emotional gut wrencher. I cried. And the difficulty then, I tried to go get, he's like, you need to go get blood work. I went to go get blood work the next day because it was at the end of the day, it was by the end of the day that I finally got to see the eye retina specialist. And so I fasted that night. I was ready to go get my blood work done. Later that day, I went to the doctors, and the doctors ordered some more blood work. But by the time I got to the blood lab, they were closed. So I was like, you know what? I need to eat. I'm hungry. It took me about 30 minutes just to eat a burger. And I'm like, I got to go to the hospital today. I got to get this checked out. So I was admitted for 10 days in the hospital, and it wasn't until I finally talked to the retina specialist after the 10 days in the hospital. He's like, well, your eyes will improve, but I'm not sure how much they will, but they will improve. My white blood cell count was so high that I had blood vessels burst in my retinas, and your body would naturally heal it, but he just didn't know what extent would my eyesight restore. Thank God my eyesight has restored almost perfectly. I still have a little blurriness in my left eye, but I don't see it as much anymore because the brain works pretty well together. But there's young adults who've lost limbs. There's young adults who had parts of their brains cut out. Some of the skulls cut and then put back in. There's a lot of things that have happened within young adults, and there's a lot of needs of young adults. I was speaking to Sue, the director of the Stowe Weekend of Hope. And she basically said that young adults tend to have more emotions because they have the excitement, their dreams and hopes are there. From like either going to college, starting a family, to getting a good job. Because you're young and you're like ready to see the world, and then all of a sudden you're diagnosed with cancer. And that really is a gut wrencher, and it makes you kind of look at life completely different. And also, in one way, it helps you to empathize and understand people in a lot different way, which is awesome. But I ended up becoming severely depressed and had a lot of emotional issues because of the diagnosis with cancer, because of the vision issues, because of the bad roommate. And the whole point of the Great Ribbon Rally, it used to connect the different agencies, connect the legislators so that they can make decisions that are either beneficial insurance, beneficial for other needs, to more funds for mental health, and to help medical professionals to treat at a holistic approach. And I'm thankful that Texas has finally opened up a young adult cancer center, which is awesome. There are other places across the United States that young adults don't have a place to go meet when they've been diagnosed with cancer. There are young adults who've had issues from being up in the older patients to pediatrics and younger patients. And young adults are at a certain time of life that they're ready to explore, they're ready to see life, and then being hit with such a life-threatening disease. Some cancers, yes, they're treatable. Some are chronic, like mine. I am looking to take my medication for decades, or hopefully less. And then some have terminal cancer. But each and every single one of them, depending on the cancer, have different mental health needs to help them cope and learn to live with whatever time or the rest of their life. And just within me, my chronic myeloid leukemia, I had some side effects from my medication. I also had my bad roommate that made it difficult for me to just start thinking through and what did I need to do next. I was just so overwhelmed. And it was kind of like, I went to a great hospital. I loved them. I'm thankful for them. But it was kind of like, well, brush it off and move forward sometimes. But no, sometimes we need to learn to talk and describe our emotions so we can move forward. And when you're dealing with, I ended up becoming homeless in November, and it was of 2015, because of the bad roommate, because of the financial issues, because of the vision issues that I had. I had so many challenges within 1 year that it was difficult for me to really think and move forward from day to day. And when one thing goes wrong, you're more focused on the negative than focused on what's the positive. And that's what happens when you're in depression. And I didn't take any meds. I wasn't going to take meds. I wanted to learn how to cope. I grew up with a parent, with a father and mother, and I loved them dearly. My dad had PTSD from Vietnam, and we just had a dysfunctional family where we weren't really we weren't able to talk about our emotions. It was just kind of just put aside. I didn't learn coping skills from my family, and I've had to learn throughout lifetime how to deal with different emotional issues. And it wasn't until I finally got help, went into group therapy, and learned to describe my emotions, and then being able to talk through to myself and saying, hey, I should go in this direction or not. I'm looking at this wrong, and looking at the perspective of another person. So I had to slow down. By being me going homeless, trying to figure out where to stay at night. Thank God I had a friend that allowed me to stay with him for a couple months, two friends, and continue to go through group therapy. And finally, I ended up drafting a book about my story. I still need to work on it, but before I decided to go back to work and looking, one thing led to another about this Great Ribbon Rally. Working as a sessional assistant clerk at Connecticut State Capitol, I realized that the cancer agencies don't always work well together. Some states do, some states don't. And helping to pass laws, or people who are in our community who's part of this society or this society of the cancer agencies, you need to get involved with this bill, send support to your legislators because ... And I just felt when I testified and beneficial for maxing out the copays every single month throughout the year, the other cancer agencies did not get involved with that. And there's other discussions within the mental health and the needs of young adults with mental health and financial needs. I didn't qualify for disability. How do I get started to get myself back on my feet when I have $11,000 medication, monthly medication that is affecting me? And then I could look at not making more than $15,000 a year to stay under Medicaid, or it took me weeks to figure out that I had to make over $40,000 a year to live at a poverty level, which is fine, but I had to find a $40,000 a year job just to cover my medication and for basic living expenses. Not much because of the cost of the Obamacare and the cost for my insurance. But that's just not me. As I'm traveling around the United States, I'm interviewing young adults, learning about some of their needs, how they learn to cope after cancer. And there's so many conversations that still need to take place. And yes, we need more funding for cancer. We need more funding for the mental health aspect for young adults and all cancer survivors to be able to cope and live and enjoy life. Because in all reality, that's what about the American dream is. It's about enjoying life. And the financial needs, getting some people, when they've had some bad luck, being able to get into some financial footing to move forward and get an apartment, or eventually buy a home. As a single male, that's even more difficult. And people think, well, just get yourself up and going. It wasn't until I left my roommate situation that I was able to think about how my body felt with my medication. Well, because that roommate was he said lies, he twisted things, and when I was raising money for me to pay for some of my bills, He's like, you're just taking advantage of people and all that. And those are the very core things that I'm like, I don't do that. And it was just so hard for me to deal with that, and that constantly don't know how he's going to act one day to another. I later learned he had a drug issue. And so it wasn't until I was finally able to be out and I was not tense in a situation and as my vision got better, that I was able to start being able to go and get the help that I needed. But I still needed help to do this whole trip. I do need the support. I hope that you would donate to the GreatRibbonRally.com. It's not quite an agency yet, and I think it will. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is looking at all the state capitals, and as I'm going through every single state capital, is to try to set up a subcommittee, not an actual committee, but a subcommittee for some of the medical professional and some of the mental health, the Department of Public Health, and young adults to meet on a quarterly basis in each state to discuss the needs of young adults and discuss the needs of cancer survivors, so that it can make some of these legislative changes that are beneficial, because sometimes it's as simple of insurance issues. One person in the Vermont rally, the lady who was describing, she was describing that one of the persons had to raise money to get his teeth taken out so that he could get the chemotherapy or the radiation that he needed for a thyroid cancer that he had. Because of the way that insurance laws state, he couldn't get the teeth taken out because he had some plaque or some other things that are going on. And he's a young adult. So it postponed his treatment because he couldn't afford for his teeth to get taken out. And then I forgot, I just read the other day about the cancer stuff. One lady, she can't get the last pap smear or something, the last test to find out if she's completely cured on cancer because the insurance won't pay for it. There are certain rules and regulations even under the insurance to make it more beneficial for the young adults and anyone who's been diagnosed with cancer. So I hope that you will support me in the Great Ribbon Rally. I hope that you go there and go to my webpage and go to the support page and make a donation. I am here today at the West Virginia state capitol, the state house. And you'll see some photos of it afterwards or before. Because I need help to be able to travel. The next is going to be Ohio on July 20th. And then the next state after that is going to be Kentucky on July 27th. Then Michigan, Indiana. I am traveling to every single state. I'll walk if I have to, or hitchhike if I have to. But I am planning every single state every single week. Your support in helping the Great Ribbon Rally will help me get there, but it also help me to do the PR work, to do everything that is needed. And there's many elements that I even need some volunteer help with to create these subcommittees. Because I have to talk to legislators, get approved by legislators. There's a lot of work for this, but I know it's needed because it is needed for these discussions for all survivors, and to connect the different cancer agencies to work more together and saying, hey, this is what we need to support this law, or we don't, or these changes. Because really at the end of the day, it's really about improving the quality of life of people who've been diagnosed with cancer. And I hope that you support me on this, because I know most likely you've been touched by cancer, either by a loss of your family member or a friend. I am traveling the United States for a couple reasons. One, for all those people who've lost their lives and wanted to travel across the United States. Two, to help make awareness of the people today and their needs of who've been diagnosed and post-treatment needs of young adults with cancer, and the future lives of young adults with cancer. So I hope that you support, come to the Great Ribbon Rallies, volunteer for the Great Ribbon Rallies, and support the Great Ribbon Rally. Thank you for coming today.